know, I've really been disappointed with the quality and the price. No matter what city I go to, it seems to be all the norm. These prices are going up. It's double what I got it for last harvest. This is $7. The quality is really not that good. We'll compare it to our aquaponics system, but yeah. Way too much if you ask me. Almost $6 for onions. And yeah, this stuff is not good quality. A lot of it looks dead. Cilantro, $6 for a cup like this. I'm telling you what, guys, food prices are going up. Pretty much the same prices here at Walmart. Quality actually here is a little better, but still not all that great.
All right, today I'm talking about prop lifting, but this time it is from the business's perspective. My name is Michael and I'm a 4th generation nurseryman, and in all the history of our business, prop lifting hasn't really been a big issue until recent years. Okay, so if you don't know what prop lifting is, it could be something as simple as just grabbing some succulent leaves off the ground that have fallen off, or it could actually be going in with intentionality to flip cuttings or propagate these plants and actually taking them, sticking them in the purse, in your pocket, down your shirt, and taking them home to propagate yourself. And so this is what I would consider like the Class A misdemeanor. Lowest level of crime of prop lifting would be picking some up without permission. Now, if you've gotten express permission and you show the employee that works there, hey, there are these leaves on the ground, do you mind if I pick them up? Because really, those leaves do fall off whenever you're moving plants around and receiving new shipments. It's not like they were intentionally broken off. Here's a really good example of how one succulent leaf has produced an entire new plant. If you did not ask permission and are just gathering them and taking them, that is stealing, because you don't know if that nursery actually goes around and intentionally picks up those cuttings to propagate them themselves. Okay, here's another little nuance. By asking that garden center employee about taking succulent cuttings home or leaves that have fallen off home, putting them in a pretty uncomfortable position, because they don't really know if you actually found those leaves or if you just went over to a plant and popped them off. Okay, and then there are the even more serious prop lifters who will actually find cups or cuttings and actually rip them out of the pots, which is a really bad way to do it, but it does work a lot of times. And I even hear a lot of people on this app that will defend themselves or justify themselves by saying, well, I only do prop lifting at box stores. I would never do that to an independent garden center. You know, these big corporations, you know, they deserve whatever's coming to them. But listen, you think that you're being Robin Hood-like by doing this, but Robin Hood actually took from the rich and gave to the poor. When you go in and do prop lifting, you are just taking for yourself, and that's a very selfish and illegal way of looking at things.
When someone asks, where do you get all your plants?
Okay, I want to show you another little trick. Do you see this beautiful little sedum? Well, if you pinch off this piece right there and you stick it in the dirt, it will root and grow another plant. I mean, I could take this home and then I just got myself a free plant. Well, I better take it home. I can't just throw it on the ground. I'll just keep it there with my little pepper, and that'll be our little secret. And although I've never propagated geraniums myself, my girlfriend told me that all you have to do is pick off a piece and stick it in the ground and it will root as well. And check it out. I did not pull this one off, but it just fell off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick this in my shopping cart. I'm gonna go home and put it in water, and I'll have a free geranium plant. Don't tell, this is our little secret. Okay, check this out. Here's another trick. Do you see this big, giant, beautiful aloe vera? Well, if I cut one of those leaves off and stick it in the ground, I'll get another plant. And look behind here. Do you see all those leaves? You can just take these home and stick them in the dirt. And there's another one right there on the floor. I mean, they're just gonna sweep it up and throw it in the trash, right? Look at, there's 2 more leaves. That means I'll have a total of 5 plants. Now, I'm not saying that I want to take these all home and grow more aloe vera. I'm just showing you that you can get plants for free by picking up little leaves and pieces and propagating them yourself. Look at how fancy and pretty those are. And check it out. See this little leaf? It came off the mother plant. And if I stick that in dirt, guess what? You guessed it, I'm gonna have a plant that looks just like this. And if you look hard enough, there's a ton of leaves that fell off this plant way back there. I'm gonna have 3 new plants, and I'll stick them in my little pepper plant so nobody finds out. So if I have 3 plants times $29.98, I scored big today.
Is when I see people brag about stealing plants from locally owned plant shops. It is so fucking obnoxious. Or stealing plants from nature. But Ashley, it's nature. The plant just exists out there. It doesn't belong to anyone. That's not what it's about. It's the fact that you're traumatizing a plant by taking it out of its environment and bringing it into your house. Why? Why are you doing that? So that you can have it in your house? Why can't you just fucking like it when it's in the nature?
So as you can see, propagation and proplifting is very common, very popular. It's actually a very popular trend. If you were to look up the hashtag or handle on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all the social media platforms, there's a huge following. There's a lot of videos that are going viral. The one I included earlier with that younger female is one of them. So it's one of those things where it's happening. It's happening at an increasingly fast rate. It's becoming more and more popular. In fact, if you look at the sub-thread of Proplifting, it has over 60,000 members. So this is something that a lot of people are doing, taking a look at, interested in. And the reason why it's so important from our perspective of preparedness goes without saying. Unfortunately, most people in the preparedness community, they probably don't even know what Proplifting is. The preparedness community is usually one of those communities that's last to know about just about everything, but it's important to realize, because I know as somebody who is an avid gardener, who comes from a gardening background, gardening family, that this is something that we should be looking at. Because again, when it comes to this topic, right, there's a lot of moral and ethical considerations to think about. That's not the point of this video, because you guys don't care what my personal opinion is. My personal opinion is irrelevant. You guys are here for the facts, and you guys are here for applying the facts and the citations in a way that can better your preparedness posture. So, with that being the case, proplifting has become more and more popular, and as food prices go up, as gardening implements, as planting goes up, and the prices of those go up, expect more people to engage in this practice. In fact, again, all my citations are in the description box below. If you look at some of the articles, the reason why this is gaining popularity, according to most, is because the increased prices of plants, as demonstrated how much she was able, 3 plants were going to cost her almost $100, right? But she was able to get cuttings, she was able to propagate herself, but the cost of plants increasing and the interest in gardening going up as well. And I think that they're all interrelated. I think that people are more interested in gardening because of the high prices they're seeing, especially when it comes to food. and other things like that. I can't blame people for being like, you know what, lettuce, tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, the prices of these are going up. I bet you I could grow it myself. And in fact, a lot of people that are new to preparedness have already expressed that sentiment. So it goes without saying that this is going to be something that's going to become a lot more commonplace. In fact, if you watch some of my prior videos, you'll see that it's significantly increased the amount of theft that has been going on in regards to taking people's produce, right? So if you have a mango tree, apple tree, orange tree, peach tree in your yard, and it produces fruit, people coming and just stripping everything from that plant, to people taking the plant from the ground. This is happening all over the place. It's happening in people's everyday gardens, people's front lawns, community gardens, schools, commercial entities. So this is happening all over the world, first and foremost, and it's happening at a staggering increased rate. So the idea of propagation is going to be something that people see as a way to get their hands on these plants, especially if they're going to be too expensive or hard to get. And I think that's important because the segue goes into what is going to be the outcome, right? What's going to happen? Because again, regardless of how I feel, we know it's going to happen. That's a fact. It's gaining in popularity, also another fact. So the response to propagation, to me, is the most important when it comes to looking at our preparedness posture. So what is going to be the response? Because we already know, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, if you're somebody that is pro-propagation, pro-lifting, a lot of times it's because the ideological belief many times is that plants should be free, nobody should own plants, people have a right to plant, and they will also use that to segue into, well, I'm just pruning the plant, so I'm actually helping its health, or I found it at a box store and it was on the ground, so I rescued it, whatever. And then on the other side, you have the pro-capitalism approach of, well, it's not your property, therefore you are not owed it, right? So regardless of how you look at this from a more ethical standpoint, just realize it's going to happen. And especially the justification, as we see when times are not all that bad, right? We see people feeling that they have a right to it. And then just imagine whenever hunger comes into play. Just imagine when you have hungry people, the minds that will be changed. So knowing that this is something that is going to be a considerable concept when it comes to preparedness, what's the response? Because we know truly the governmental response. In fact, the governmental had a response back in the 1930s with the Plant Patent Act of the 1930s. And then you have the Plant Variety Protection Act of 1970. So the government already has a vested interest in property rights, or at least in the protection of those property rights. So what does the Plant Patent Act mean? Well, let's take propagation one step further, right? If I were to buy a blueberry bush from the store, like the one that you saw earlier, and let's say that plant was patented for a whole list of reasons, whether it's been hybridized or it's GMO, what have you. I can buy that plant, I can plant that plant in the ground, and it can produce fruit, and I can eat that fruit. What I can't do is I can't take seed from that plant and replant another plant, nor can I take a cutting of that plant and replant it, because that would technically be a violation of federal law. And this is clearly established in the literature. In fact, if you look at Monsanto versus Brown, really good case law in regards to that. This is a real thing. And so with that being said, you can go into the moral implications. You can go into the what ifs all day long. You can go into the, well, how are they going to know that I took a cutting of a plant that I bought? How are they going to know I retransplanted the seed of a plant that I bought? They're not going to know. We can have these considerations. And on the other side, you can say, well, hey, if we go to a one world current digital currency, you're opening yourself up to all sorts of liability. Again, that's not the purpose of this video. This video is just to explain what is. Again, the factual considerations. And so looking at it, this is something that as a preparedness community and as preppers and as somebody that is wanting to grow your own food, that it's going to become a very real, it's become a really, really real conversation here in the very near future. And it's I'm not surprised. It's a little shocking that more people in this preparedness community aren't talking about it, but this is what it is. So these are all things that you're going to have to take into consideration when it comes to your preparedness posture. Is somebody going to come on your property and take your fruit? Are they going to come and they're going to take cuttings of your plants? Is that going to become a thing? Is that something you have to plan for? If is the increase of this happening nationwide, worldwide, going to cause a bigger shortage? Is it going to cause an artificial shortage or a real shortage of actual food products, plant products, whether that be shrubs, bushes, trees, etc.? These are all real considerations. What is going to be the governmental response to this? So I think when we look at this, pragmatically, it's very, very interesting. How's the food sector going to deal with this, right? How's big agriculture going to deal with this? Are they going to go ahead and shift to seedless fruits only for that reason? Because, for example, they may not want everyday people going to the grocery store buying apples, lemons, oranges, peaches, plums, and then replanting those seeds at home, right? So there is going to be a response. This is a popular trend. The trend's going to keep going. The trend's going to gain in popularity. More and more people are going to do it. And the response of that is going to be interesting. Because let's be honest, let's have a real conversation here. If there's a lot of preppers out there, people in the preparedness community, that are going to realize that, hey, maybe I should have been growing food this entire time, and they're going to be priced out of the market. Because as you guys know, I'm already priced out of the market. So if you're already priced out of the market, how are you going to grow that tree? How are you going to grow those blueberry bushes, raspberry bushes? How are you going to do it? Maybe you're going to go to public land, take a cutting. Maybe they will go to somebody's house, take a cutting. Maybe they'll go to nurseries or Home Depot, Lowe's, and take a cutting. Who knows? But we know it's going to happen, and we know it's going to happen with more prevalence. So as prepared-minded people, how are we going to prepare? How are you going to prepare for that eventuality? Population density is a thing. Luckily, where we're at on this homestead, our neighbors are our family members. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's the other side of it, right? Is it okay just to ask somebody if they can have a cutting? Is it okay to go ahead and there are heirloom seed libraries? There are people that collaborate. Maybe that's the future. Maybe collaboration of cuttings, of propagation, of proplifting is going to become the new norm because of the rising prices. These are all things to think about. How are you going to go about it? Because again, we know it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen with greater frequency. So coming up with the game plan, I think when it comes to propagation and proplifting, excuse me, I think is very important. I think it's something that's worth looking at and worth diving in and at least having the conversation. Like I said, unfortunately, I wish this conversation would have happened sooner somewhere else, but this is where we're at. So these are all important considerations. I know here on the homestead, we do tons of propagating and proplifting. I take cuttings from, especially now being priced out of the system, I take cuttings from already established legal plants that I have, and I transplant them, and I've been transplanting them, and I've been proplifting like a madman this last couple months. And so, yeah, I think that this is an important part of the future, and I think that it's important we look at it, because however you want to slice it, if you can't afford to buy the plant in totality at a big box store or nursery, are there other options? I think there are, and I think that there are consequences and considerations. So going about it in a way where you can have voluntary collaborations, I think are huge. And I think that is the way of the future. However, I'm under no guise that not everybody can, cohabitate. Not everybody can corroborate. And there's going to be consequences to that as well. And I think it's important to understand and come to have a game plan for that real eventuality. So that's all I have for you guys. What are your thoughts in the thought section, in the comment section below? What do you think about propagation? What do you think of proplifting? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? What are the moral implications that you see? Is it something that you're going to partake in? How are you going to partake in it? Do you think voluntary cooperation is the ultimate goal, or do you think a more clandestine approach is more appropriate? Let me know in the comment section below. Hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. As always, guys, long live the Republic.